What? Kids have disappeared and the Pokémon have lost their energy? Good thing Detective Ash Ketchum is here to solve this case. Hoo, hoo, ha, ha, ho. Hey, maybe we'll find a clue in the podcast. Brilliant deduction! Hey, I'm Veronica Taylor.
And I'm Rena Taylor.
And this is
The Trainer's Guide. Today's episode,
Hypno's Naptime! Welcome back, everybody, to episode 26.
we are at the halfway point.
Amazing.
It's the final countdown. 26 episodes to go. Can we do it?
Yes. We can all do it. We've gotten this far, amazingly so.
Yes, if you've been listening from the beginning, congratulations. I personally feel like we've gotten better, but
It's a major milestone that we've all hung in.
yes, I think so.
I think, speaking for myself, I do not accomplish all of my goals, perhaps like Ash Ketchum, who seems to
Yes.
only have one, and I have many. So,
Yeah, very true.
But we've gotten this so far.
I know.
So
This is pretty
onward we
amazing.
go.
I can't wait to see where this takes us.
It will take us to episode 52. Oh, also, thank you to everybody who came out to Collecticon in Houston last weekend.
Mhm.
It was super fun. We had a great time. So many wonderful people.
Yes, we had a great time meeting you, but I'm sorry that we were, if we came across a little low energy on Sunday, it's because we had food poisoning.
We were fighting a bout of, like, if only we had a Hitmonchan to
Right.
fight it off for us or
Yeah.
something. But we're feeling a lot better now, and it did not interfere with our watching the eclipse in Dallas on Monday,
Right.
April 8th. But we'll get to that at the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if they ever get sick in the Pokemon world.
I don't remember any of that. Well, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah.
But interestingly, this episode comes the closest to that because kids are missing and
Mhm.
the Pokemon have low energy and are really quite lethargic and not moving. So I guess that's the closest to kind of a sickness.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but we'll see. I feel like if anyone's going to get sick, it'll be Team Rocket.
Oh, yeah.
That's my guess.
That's true,
I think
actually.
they'll be the first ones, and then that'll open the door for everybody to feel like they can get sick too, you know? So,
Well, let's not do it.
No,
we arrive
please.
in Hop 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 Town,
yeah.
which is an odd name, but apparently it is that because they all hop across the
Yes.
screen sideways.
It's very cute.
I've not seen that on a map, but I would love to. In this town, the children have disappeared 3 days ago. We also get to see Joy and Jenny.
Well, yeah, we see
Officer
them again.
I'm so casual with
I know.
that.
Just your two friends. I didn't even realize that they both have J names. I wonder if that was anything.
I don't know.
Or maybe it's just a coincidence. If anybody would know, it's Bulbapedia.
They have a lot of...
I consulted them a little bit today. I'll pepper in some fun trivia that I found throughout the episode, but they have so many things and like all these errors. Like I guess in this episode, Nurse Joy's hair was filled in instead of having the two gaps. Like she's got those little raindrop ponytail things.
Yes.
And I guess in this episode, they were colored in.
Did not notice that.
Yeah, neither did I until I saw Bulbapedia. Anyway,
You know what's
but
interesting?
yeah, we see them.
Just as that, not that we don't ever do side notes, but I think we watch the episode so differently, you and I, and I'm sure all of us do. You pick out, you focus on different things or you listen for different things. I did not look at Nurse Joy's hair at all.
No. And it's also that, well, I think part of it is your mind just kind of fills in those
that's
gaps.
True.
So
that's true.
it looks the same. It's pink. So I would think that, it might not necessarily immediately call attention to it.
Right.
But, there's those other things, the Mandela effects. Have you heard of those?
Yeah.
Where like you think the Fruit of the Loom logo has the cornucopia in it, but it actually doesn't.
Right.
And like there's all these things that, we're conditioned or somehow we all believe is one way, but it's actually a different way.
Yeah.
And I don't think necessarily that Nurse Joy's hair would be one, but that would be something where like you would find out that her hair's been a big blob this whole time. But we all think that it's like two little raindrops, even though it is.
Well,
but.
that I think is also true with how we hear things, because I remember hearing that Laurence Olivier, when he played
Oh, yeah.
uh,
Othello.
yeah, he had a strong accent in the beginning of the movie and then lost it towards the end, but nobody notices because you become accustomed to it right away.
And you just fill in.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stuff, we do a lot of work we don't have to, I guess.
I know, seriously. We actually have had Australian accents this whole time.
Exactly.
But you just don't
You
know.
accept it.
Right.
So the kids have disappeared
Yes.
3 days ago, and we find this out because a mother comes up and mistakes Ash for her son.
Arnold.
And then she tells her whole very sad story.
Yeah.
But they're just gone.
Yeah, and they don't know what happened, and Ash decides because she reminds him of his mom, and he, feeling sentimental, decides to help. So he becomes Detective Ash Ketchum and decides to solve the case. And I love that because he decides to solve the case, and Brock is crushing over Officer Jenny, and Misty's just in the middle going, oh my gosh, and Ash is in the corner doing his like karate, like that kind of stuff, and Brock's like drooling, and it's hilarious. I feel like these episodes, as we've talked about, are just, the humor is so built in and the visuals are so great that I don't know, I just love it. It's so enjoyable to watch.
And you get bits of how they are just kids. Even though they're on this kind of mature journey, they have these moments to be unique and also just to show their own creativity.
And isn't that the same, like the longer you spend time with people, the more your true self comes out?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what we're getting to for this. Like the longer we're spending time with these characters, the longer they're spending time with each other.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just, we're all just seeing more sides of them.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that's, in general with a TV show or when you're writing something like that, you do, as the episodes go on, you want to show more about the characters and all that kind of stuff. But it really is like we're actually on this adventure with them.
Yeah, which
is so fun.
I love it, actually. I love who they are and how they are together.
Mm-hmm.
The three of them specifically with Pikachu peppered in.
Totally. So then they decide to go to the Pokémon Center because they're going to ask some of the other kids who are there to see if they have any idea of where the missing kids have gone. So they go to the Pokémon Center, and we find out that some Pokémon are also affected, and they've become affected as of 3 days ago, and they're all drained of their energy. So there's a Charmander whose tail is flame is about to go out. An Oddish is really droopy.
The Magikarp just laying there. And
Ash has lost its energy.
Oh, he looks like he's ready for the deli counter.
Right.
It's just so funny. Just actually sad. And then we also meet a Psyduck for the first time.
Yes, the Psyduck also has been affected or something like that.
Holding its head, a bit of a headache.
Yes.
So anyway, we see all of those. Mm-hmm. And Officer Jenny realizes that these sleep waves are coming from somewhere.
She pulls out her detector, her sleep wave detector, and she can kind of detect that there are sleep waves coming out and causing the drowsiness with all these Pokemon. So they follow the waves and they go to this building.
Up an elevator.
Yeah, to the roof of this building that's like it's got a huge mansion and this garden kind of on the roof.
It looks a lot like where they do some of the on the top of Rockefeller Center, where they do a lot of those like New Year's Eve special.
It looks like that, but then with like a house in a British murder mystery.
That's right. That's true.
You know, like in Father Brown or something when they're approaching a house.
Yeah, and that's that sculpted garden from
like Versailles.
1860 or something.
Which is not Versailles, but you know what I mean. It's a very interesting and very out of place thing. But
we find out it's a private club.
Yeah, we go in, they enter this place, and we see all of these adults in suits and gowns. It's very fancy. And we've got a Hypno and a Drowsy in the middle of the room doing something. And so that really, the mystery widens, I feel like. It doesn't get solved yet. but we find out that they are the Pokémon Lovers Club.
And they say, we're the Pokémon Lovers Club.
Right.
And I thought it was a club for couples who had an affinity for Pokemon.
Right.
But I think it's supposed to be the Pokemon lovers. We all love Pokemon.
Right. They love Pokemon.
But either way, it's a pretty cool club.
Yeah.
But they are essentially city dwellers, people from the big city
Yes.
who lack sleep.
Well, yes. So it's a Pokemon fan club. So that is what it is. I mean, they love Pokemon. But now these people are suffering from insomnia.
Mhm.
And so they've decided to combine their love of Pokemon with their lack of sleep. And they've gotten this Hypno Pokemon to hypnotize them into falling asleep.
Because Hypno has the pendulum,
Right.
which all great magicians use to get their people to fall asleep.
Subjects.
Yeah, subjects, yes. But what we find out is that Drowsy evolved into Hypno 3 days ago.
Which I don't really understand how that has any bearing. But I guess maybe it's just because that they've been trying to fall asleep, that they've been using the Hypno for 3 days. And maybe that's what it is.
I thought it was that the Drowsy's evolution kicked into gear this whole change.
I'm not sure. I don't really know.
But Hypno has been hypnotizing and putting to sleep these Pokemon lovers.
Right.
And so the big thing here is that who is it in the episode that says it sounds like Pokemon-itis?
Oh, Brock.
Yes.
Mhm.
So we learn through what happens to Misty,
Oh, yeah.
right? So
Right.
Hypno is going with the pendulum. People fall asleep. They're all really excited.
Right.
And they realize perhaps the coincidence is due to Pokemon-itis. So
Yes.
Misty pulls up a seat in front of Hypno.
Yeah. And she gets hypnotized. And she, instead of falling asleep, turns into a seal. She starts acting like a seal.
Pokemon.
Pokemon seal. Not Seal, the Heidi Klum's ex-husband.
Right. Or just a seal at the zoo.
In the water,
Or
right,
water.
exactly.
Or in the wild.
Right. So she starts acting like Seal and runs off.
Clapping.
Clapping.
Like Seal does.
Right.
Yes.
And she runs off into the woods, into this big park.
Into a park. And so is it Brock that says maybe it's Pokemon-itis?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they said it's kids who are sensitive to the hypnotism turn into Pokemon.
Right.
Which
so they've been getting hypnotized in a different way.
Yes. So I thought this was also interesting because, you know, there are the indigo children who are more sensitive and apparently more empathic and creative. And I wondered if this idea had anything to do with that, which the indigo children are believed to be the next stage in human evolution. And any of you listening could be indigo children also. We have so many people who are more empathic, sensitive, creative now. And so I just thought this is a cool way to bring that idea of who we all are, you know, internally. So interestingly, all these kids we find in the park have been turned into Pokemon.
Right. So they're all acting like Pokemon. Like one's a Magikarp, one is a Bulbasaur. And they're all doing that and they can't get snapped out of it. So they have to figure out how to break this spell because they're all just running around. And I think the interesting thing to your point is that Misty, she, unlike the adults who got put to sleep, she became a Pokemon.
Right.
And so she has that. I mean, she is definitely
Sensitive.
more of a kid than an adult, but she has that. Perhaps she's more sensitive
and much
than
more empathic
others. Mhm.
with when you pick up on other people's feelings and can understand people in a better way.
Right.
So
So I think it's Brock again that says maybe we can use Drowsy to wake these guys up.
Yeah.
So they go back to the mansion and they get Drowsy. And Ash picks up Drowsy and is carrying it on its back, which is, first of all, hilarious because Drowsy
is giant.
is like a lump.
Mhm.
It has really no shape. It kind of looks like an anteater. You know what I mean?
No, it says it's a form of a tapir.
Yeah.
It's
which is an
actually based
actual
on a
animal.
tapir. Mhm.
Yeah. And so anyway, crazy. But Ash is carrying this Drowsy on his back. And one of the things in Bulbapedia says that Drowsy in real life weighs 71.4 pounds. And somebody this weekend was actually telling us about the Ash Ketchum Workout.
Right.
Because I guess people in real life, I've seen some videos where people will like find out the weight of of Pokemon. And then because Ash is carrying all these things, but Ash is like incredibly buff because
It must
71 pounds, that's very heavy.
And just to hoist it on, it also shows
and
you.
he's running with it.
Right, when you're dedicated, you can do many things that you wouldn't be able to do normally. I also saw on the internet a picture of a young boy who was built like Arnold Schwarzenegger, which must have been a true picture. So perhaps Ash is too.
Oh my gosh.
You can do it, guys. You can do it. But be careful.
On,
don't hurt your
dreams.
back. Yeah.
Lift those weights.
And we'll work on the Ash Ketchum workout, and we'll post some things to make you strong, courageous, and buff.
Yeah, that should be a challenge that we do. We should try the Ash Ketchum workout.
Okay, but don't try this on your own. We'll work on something.
Yeah, we'll find a way to do it.
But if you have ideas,
family-friendly, like weight-friendly, so you're not just blowing out your back
and lifting huge
unable
dogs.
to walk. Yeah, exactly. Going to the zoo and picking up a giraffe.
Right.
It's the same weight as a Charizard. Anyway.
Okay. Meanwhile, Team Rocket have decided to paraglide into the scene.
Right. And so what we didn't mention before was we have a scene before this where they are plotting their plan. And what I love about this episode is that Team Rocket are planning to capture Drowsy and Hypno, not to capture Pikachu today, but to put their boss asleep so that they can go and have a vacation. And they say really being smart. Bad is really hard. And they need a break. And we're not very good at it. And so they are like, we need a vacation. And so they come in on these paragliders. It's just so funny. They are so funny. I love it. I can't get enough of them. Anyway, they glide in and they try to steal the Hypno with a quite brilliant idea, actually, I would say, originally.
The paragliders that they're using look a lot like the paragliders that Da Vinci created. There is, if anyone's in the LA area, there is a Da Vinci exhibit on right now. And if you're not in this area, you can easily look up some of his early drawings. Incredible. But these reflect those inventions, which is kind of cool also. They come in and they decide that they will hypnotize Drowsy.
Hypno.
Oh, sorry, Hypno.
So they get a mirror.
With a mirror.
And they hold it up to the Hypno because Hypno has to, I guess, hypnotize whatever comes in contact with it or something.
It has no choice.
Yeah, because they're like, you can't resist. You have to hypnotize what you see or something. And it does. It starts to hypnotize itself. It's very smart. I think they would have gotten away with it if they didn't describe what they were going to do for so long.
Classic.
Because they really said everything. And then they used the mirror, and which gave Ash enough time to throw. What did he throw?
Pidgeotto.
Oh,
Pidgeotto. Oh, yeah.
And he threw something and it broke the mirror.
And it broke the mirror. And then Pidgeotto did Gust and blew all of Team Rocket away.
Yeah, but before that, they tried to capture the Hypno and the Drowsy with ropes.
Yeah, with the ropes.
And they say, and James says, why didn't we do this from the beginning? And Jesse goes, well, we have to fill the half hour.
It's hilarious.
Anyway, so
you can see what our sense of humor is.
Yeah, I know. I just love it. And so then Pidgeotto uses Gust and they go blasting off. So sad to see them go, but we'll see them again, I'm sure.
I'm sure. And then Drowsy is able to bring all of the kids back to their normal selves, break the spell, as it were.
Yeah, it's amazing. It works. And they all just kind of go running away.
Back to their parents.
Right.
Which just at this point, I have to say that the park is in the middle of the city. Right. The children have been missing for 3 days, and none of the parents know where they are.
Right.
And somehow, no one has looked in the park.
Right. And Officer Jenny has a motorcycle. I
mean,
she
didn't even go in the park.
She could go in the park.
Anyway, we all were like, they're gone.
They're gone. But they've been missing.
So that I thought was odd. But then Psyduck, I guess all the Pokemon have come back to themselves.
We go back to the Pokemon Center. We revive all the Pokemon, except for one. And Nurse Joy is going, well, Psyduck actually hasn't changed, which I think is interesting because I feel like I thought Psyduck was always like this, but I guess in this episode, Nurse Joy seems to think or is saying to us that Psyduck was changed from this hypnosis.
The Psyduck is always complaining and has a headache.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe it never got
Because she was saying, oh, this
hypnotized.
Psyduck hasn't come back.
Hasn't recuperated.
Right. So anyway, and Brock goes, well, I can help, whatever, because he thinks, he's trying to flirt with Nurse Joy. And then she's like, oh, great. And then the next scene is Psyduck following them. So they're leaving and Psyduck is following them.
Just walking behind.
And they're like, well, Brock, you offered to help. And then Brock goes, well, Misty, you're a water trainer and Psyduck is a water Pokemon. And she's like, I don't want this. It always has a headache and it's
complaining.
Why do I want it? Doesn't do anything. And I don't know what she does. She kind of falls.
She drops her Pokeball.
Yeah, her Pokeball rolls over to Psyduck and Psyduck captures itself in her Pokeball.
Right, pecks the ball opens and it pops inside.
It's amazing. So she catches a Pokemon. Very exciting.
And then the episode ends where we see Psyduck in the ball, saying, of course, Psy-I-I, which I'm not going to do my own rendition of that. You can all do it in your head.
Yeah,
but
visualize
that. Something said it is the first time we see a Pokemon in a Pokeball.
Yeah.
In a way, which is not at all how I envision it. I envision it like inside I Dream of Jeannie's bottle.
Me too.
Where there's furniture and stuff to do.
Kind of like those little old Polly Pockets.
Yes.
Where they were in those little cases and they had the little
stuff.
Yeah, that's what I envision it too. I like to think of like a nice couch or a beanbag or something.
Some of my favorite books were The Borrowers and The Littles, which is kind of the more simple version of The Borrowers. And all of that is all those small things, found objects inside the wall where they live. And so I think I envision it like that because I like all those tiny things. I mean, even right now, we're in the tiniest closet recording this, kind of cramped in and cozy.
Oh, yeah.
So, and there's chairs in here.
And then we bust out, just like Psyduck.
That's it. But without the headache.
Well, we know. Well,
no
I
complaining.
Kind of have one, but I can take an aspirin for that. Psyduck's headache is a little bit more, I think, what is it called?
It just lasts forever.
Built in. What's that when it's like, chronic.
Endemic. Oh, chronic.
Condition.
Also, what was interesting is that there is the Pied Piper of Hamelin, that story where the town calls in the Pied Piper because they're overrun by mice. And then the Pied Piper gets the mice out, playing his little flute, and or pipe, I suppose. And then the town decides not to pay him. So he plays his pipe again and leads all the children out. So I thought this was interesting that it started out. I don't know if there's a myth in every country with something similar. But they do have St. Patrick in Ireland that leads the snakes out. But something like this where children have mysteriously disappeared.
Yeah, I feel like too, and maybe this is another reason because I watched too many murder mysteries, but I definitely thought that we were going to I thought that something else was going to happen. Like I thought that the Hypno personally kind of creeps me out a little bit. It's a little scary to me. Its eyes, I don't know, the way it just, and maybe because it's hypnotic and it's staring right at you, something about that kind of,
it's unnerving.
Yeah. I was like, oh, this is bad. But nothing bad happened. It was fine. It was just putting people to sleep.
Right.
But I thought that something else was going to happen. Like the kids were being pulled away on purpose or something. Or I think I was wanting I was expecting a deeper mystery. But there's only so much you can cram in 25 minutes.
True.
So.
I think we did learn that one of the great things that Ash does is kind of use his imagination and just jump into this role of detective, which I thought was great, really fun. We don't get to see them being kids enough, as we said.
Right.
I think...
Yeah, brilliant deduction. That's my favorite part.
Yeah.
But also the best part is that it's Brock who is actually coming up with the clues and basically solving the, quote, mystery. But Ash is the detective, But he does say, Brock, that's a great idea. Like, brilliant deduction, Brock, So
he's
a way,
the action, and Brock is more the idea man.
Right.
In terms of the two of them.
I mean, in a way... I think Sherlock Holmes is more idea-based, but they are like Sherlock and Watson.
Yes, in a way, but maybe 2 Watsons.
Right, I know.
Because Misty and Brock are so side by side.
True. Very true.
Yeah,
Sherlock
the only other
was 2
character is
Watsons.
the housekeeper.
Yeah, I know.
We couldn't put her there.
Yeah, we have to find a trio of mystery solving people.
Yes,
but,
exactly.
Well, we've got ours, Ash, Misty, and Brock. We don't have to come up with another one. We've got the blueprint. Anyway, but yeah, I thought that this episode was really fun and just kind of crazy.
They do have one thing in the beginning where Ash is thinking that the mother reminds him of his mother, and we see a vision of Delia and Professor Oak on the beach, and Delia is holding a trophy. And
yes.
We know now that maybe some of you already knew, but that image that he sees is from the cut episode of Beauty and the Beach. So she has won a trophy for something. But you found out,
Rena,
it's the
bathing suit contest or something,
perhaps
right?
she is in a bathing suit.
From what we know about the episode, even though we haven't seen it. But I did find out that I guess in Japan, later on, they replaced that scene with a scene from the first episode of Pokémon. But because 4Kids got the original version, they just kept the beach scene in there. But anyway, interesting.
It's interesting, too, because he does love his mom, and he thinks fondly back on her holding a trophy as like number one mom. So I thought that was really neat.
Yeah, it is nice.
Anyway, this was an interesting episode.
Yeah, and very dealing with some kind of spiritual, some very metaphysical things, which I think we kind of experienced a little bit with the eclipse. Yeah. It's a little different. I mean, none of us got hypnotized.
Not necessarily, but this is a good time to talk about that. So I guess this is a good time also for the Poke Wrap Up,
where we hear from you, the Pokemon community.
We asked you to send in your favorite Pokemon memories, stories, and inspirations. But today, we are going to do our special Eclipse edition. We were in Dallas. We drove a little northeast of the city to the town of Fate to watch the eclipse in the backyard with some friends and family. And it was extraordinary.
It was amazing. And I think the craziest thing was that in the morning, it was so cloudy and thick clouds. And we just were going, okay, well, we kept looking up at the sky going, well, I can see the sun a little bit, or I can see brightness. So when it starts to happen, we'll be able to see something. And anyway, we were all just kind of prepared for whatever was going to happen.
We were
being very open.
Keeping hope alive. I will jump in and say in 2017, Rena and I drove from Los Angeles to Wyoming. Yeah. And we watched the eclipse there in totality from Casper, Wyoming. At that point, we couldn't find a hotel. We couldn't find anywhere to camp. And we ended up calling this woman who was renting out spaces in a field. And she was using the money to fund the Douglas youth hockey team. So we got a spot in the field that was spray painted in, put down our tent, and then on the morning of that eclipse in 2017, we drove into Casper, and we saw it near a river.
Oh my gosh.
There was a meditation labyrinth there. And
we did some yoga.
Yeah.
It was like a whole event. It
really
was so
cool.
Fun. Yeah.
So we became bitten by the eclipse bug then.
Totally. We decided to become eclipse chasers. But
we've been waiting since then for this eclipse.
I wonder how the youth hockey team is going, actually.
I have not checked in.
Now they are.
That speaks poorly of us.
Now they're teen hockey
Probably.
team.
That's right. But we decided, okay, we'll go to Dallas. So we were there. Yep. We just happened to...
the whole thing was so by chance. We were deciding, where are we going to see it? And we found a place, and then when the clouds are there, we're going, oh my gosh. And right before it hit totality.
Well, first of all, the clouds were thick, and then they were thinning out. And as the sun began to be covered, the clouds started to go away.
Right.
And throughout the covering, I know there's technical terms, but I'm just going to use throughout the covering of the sun, the totality, and then the uncovering, there was just almost a circle of
It
clouds
just cleared.
far out from the sun.
Like a ring of clouds.
It was miracle.
It was amazing.
It was
Mhm.
it was so beautiful.
And it got so dark because the moon covered the sun, and it just it really the temperature dropped, and it got so dark.
the birds fly around as if it were dusk.
Yeah.
The shadows changed. I saw some videos of people who the shadows of the leaves were more half moon shaped. And so someone noticed that one of the chairs on the deck, the shadow was no longer a straight kind of blocky, it was wavy.
Yeah.
Really cool stuff.
It was just amazing.
When you look around, the horizon is kind of like sunset-like, and the sky is darker. You can see some stars.
We could see planets.
It was beautiful.
It was just so cool. And then when it comes back, everybody cheers. And I think something that's so great about a big event like this is watching it with people and seeing it in a group, even if you don't know them. But there's something about experiencing something so just awesome, awe-inspiring with people. And I think that I think that we can all try to find moments like that in our daily lives, but especially when big things like this roll around, it's definitely worth even just going outside and just seeing what you can see, because it's really amazing.
I think too, the stillness of it, there's the sounds right before totality when the birds are just like flying around crazily and noisy. And during totality, it was pretty quiet, actually. I read something because people expected bats to come out and crazily fly around as well. But
we didn't see any bats.
We didn't see any bats. And part of that, from what I was reading in National Geographic, is that their circadian rhythms are so set that the totality is only 2 minutes or 4 minutes. So it doesn't disrupt them. So they think they should wake up and come out. So that's why you didn't see them during this little bit of time, which I found fascinating.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
I do think it reminds us that we need to leave room for wonder. I think there are some people who say, oh, I'm too busy or something, but you can watch it on TV too. That's a wonderful way to catch up with it. But for us, it's, I think, a reminder that we need to balance our responsibilities with kind of embracing the extraordinary and finding ways to do that every day, because we are better humans for it. And I think we also can be better humans for others with that. And wonder and curiosity, again, help, I think. I read something that someone had said, it's amazing because people haven't been able to predict eclipses for that long. And someone came back and said this line, and I quote, "The Great Pyramid's latitude in degrees tallies with the speed of light to 6 significant digits." Now, I have no idea what that means, but by reading that, the fact that archaeology, that architecture that we find in archaeology was so specific way back then, when we feel like we know everything now and we have machines that can help us with all of this, that people could figure something so precisely out that they could incorporate it into their architecture. The fact that I read that and I have no idea means I have so much more to learn and that I want to learn. It's just, it's mind-bending and really exciting.
Yeah. I think that too, it just, even that, hearing you talk about that, it just feeling, we took 3 hours out of the day to go stand in someone's backyard and just watch the moon go over the sun.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a valuable lesson of, even, most of the time we don't have 3 hours to take out of our day to do something, but we all have to remember to take some time out for ourselves and just exactly that, have wonder and not do anything, take a break. Don't look at your phone. Don't read, just go and sit in a park and just absorb that. Be present and be in the moment, even for 15 minutes. It just allows your mind to wander and expand and, to maybe think up some great ideas.
Because perhaps, in the quote, old days, there was much more quiet and more darkness, and you had to be productive during the daylight and differently productive in the night light. So or in the, whatever light there was from the moon and all of that. But you had to think in a different way, and your mind expanded in a different way. And now we have so much noise, we have so many distractions that perhaps we aren't as creative and we aren't thinking further.
Yeah, or just differently. And I just think that we all, even though technology and everything that we have is so helpful and a great resource, I do think that there is a great benefit to, turning it all off for a minute and just kind of grounding yourself.
Yeah.
Because you just don't know what you might find. And I think if we're going to use all of our resources, that has to be one too.
Absolutely. With a solar eclipse, you realize, or a celestial event, you really do realize your place in the universe and how small we are. And the fact that this body, the moon, can come between the earth and the sun to such an exact point, a closeness to the earth that it can shadow the sun is incredible. And to let your mind really take that in. If you haven't had enough celestial events, there is a comet, and it is called 12P/Pons Brooks. And that is coming on April 12th, 2024. It's appearing, and then again on the 21st. So look it up, get out there, try to see it. You should be able to see it with the naked eye. If there's an observatory near you, perhaps this is the time to go. People with telescopes are out. Many comets you can see with binoculars. So
yes,
there's many ways to get out and look up and see what you can see. Even on a cloudy night, it's better to be outside for a minute than inside. So I hope this inspires you, because we are so incredibly inspired and thankful that we were able to get away and be outside.
Just like Ash, Misty, and Brock.
Yeah, they're outside every day.
I was reminded of the Clefairy. I felt like we were like the Clefairy
right.
and the Moonstone jumping around.
Yes.
That's what I feel like we
did
were.
all jump around, and it's amazing. Just let's celebrate the joy of what we don't understand, the enormity of it all.
And the fact we have so much more to learn.
And our special place here with each other and in the universe.
Totally.
Anyway, that wraps up our Eclipse edition. And we do want to hear from all of you.
Email us a short recording or write to us at trainersguidepod@gmail.com.
And if you can, try to keep it short so we don't have to edit it.
Oh, and please include your first name and where you're from. And for this week, if you have any special eclipse viewing stories, we would also love to hear those.
And that about wraps up today's episode of The Trainer's Guide. And, as they say, to be continued. We hope that you continue to join us on this journey that is The Trainer's Guide.
As you know, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Wherever you're listening now.
And if you subscribe, comment, and rate the podcast, it helps others find the show and keeps us on the air.
Thank you so much in advance for your generosity and all of your amazing support.
Trainer's Guide is a production of Boom Integrated.
We are co-executive producing this along with
the amazing Adrienne Glover
and the incomparable Robin Lai. I'm your host, Veronica Taylor.
And I'm your host, Rena Taylor.
And this has been The Trainer's Guide. We'll see you out there on the road.